All right, YouTube, this is Detroit's HPTV. Come to you out of Detroit, back with another video. And we have to talk about Jasmine Crockett again. She's making her rounds on the news and in the media, talking reckless. And I think it's something more sinister behind her rhetoric. Let me remind you guys, how many of you guys out there remember when 10 black women was unalived in New York in the grocery store? You guys remember that? How it was 10 black women targeted by some crazy young man who wrote a manifesto. What about Dylan Roof when he went in AMC church and went to unaliving people in the church? You know, these things happened, and the Democrats still didn't give you a crime bill or nothing to protect you, even after they gave it to the Asians when those 5 Asians in Atlanta were attacked. Now, Jasmine Crockett and Ayanna Pressley and Maxine Waters and the rest of the Democrats, they're telling you to fight in the streets, encouraging you to vandalize and protest against conservatives. And a lot of times it sounds like they're encouraging violence. But why would they do that? Why would they do that knowing what we all know? We all know that there's some disgruntled young man somewhere in this country, maybe there's a lot of them, writing manifestos, dissatisfied with government, and they want 15 minutes of fame. So she espouses this rhetoric knowing the potential, because we have witnessed these type of incidents so many times. So she knows the potential. She knows that being the face of this type of rhetoric and dissatisfaction and talking revolution, resistance, and opposition, she's know that she's poking the bear, so to speak. She knows that she's stirring the pot. And I bet you everywhere she goes, she has security with her. Definitely, she keeps security with her. But what about you guys, her constituents? How much security do you have? Do you have the Secret Service protecting you and your property while she's out here fomenting civil unrest and they're attacking Elon Musk's places of business and destroying Teslas and talking real crazy about an opposition and resistance? How much protection do you have when you go to the grocery store? Hmm? How much protection do you have when you go to church? How much protection do you have moving through this country with all this insane talk? At some point, we have to know that this is not her just running off at the mouth. It almost seems that she wants something to happen. She wants confrontation. And I'm not talking about just political talking points confrontation. It almost seems that the left actually wants a clash. They actually want someone to get hurt. It seems that way. Because why would they be talking so much violence? As if they don't understand that there's militias in almost every state that are conservative. Most of the police force is conservative. The people who really are the backbone of this country and the military are conservative. Why would she want you as civilians, untrained protesters, mixed in with paid protesters and agent provocateurs, why would she want you to clash with the military, the National Guard? Or why is she setting it up to look as if there could possibly be violence? What about the lone wolves, as I stated to you a few minutes ago? Like the one that went to the grocery store and targeted 10 black women. They don't even mention that. Have you noticed that on the left, they don't mention any of the violence, any of the crime, any of the things that's going on in their cities? They ignore the problems and tribulations and poverty of their own constituents while they get out in front of you and incite you against your government. As if she doesn't know the things I've stated thus far, the possibilities. Do you feel safer with her saying the things she's saying? When you standing in Walmart or the grocery store, or are you moving about so carefree and careless that you don't realize that this lady is stoking hostility for over 80 million other Americans? Oh, I get it. Someone gave you a license to carry, huh? So you what? You got a weapon in your purse. You got it in a holster. What does that look like when somebody runs up on you with a rifle? Do you go in your purse? Do you try to take it out of holster under fire? Or do you lose your life like you never even had a weapon? How safe are you with these leftists talking all this anarchy, revolution, and resistance? They talking this talk, but is it making you as an American citizen any safer? I want you to look at what she said more recently, because she's doubling down. She went viral for saying, for her birthday, she wants Elon Musk to be taken down. What you think gonna happen if somebody does something on her birthday? If by chance somebody takes her up on that all she wants for her birthday is for Elon Musk to be taken down. What if some crazy actually does something to a conservative on her birthday? What are you going to do if it be that type of conflict in this country? Is that what you really want? How brave are you? How patriotic are you? Because the last time I remember the Democrats being this angry was when they was angry at Abraham Lincoln for freeing their slaves. Just like they're angry at Trump for freeing their cheap labor or deporting their cheap labor. See, as I've said before in my videos, Abraham Lincoln's biggest mistake was allowing the Democratic Party to reconstitute itself after the Civil War. They had already succeeded from the Union. They had already been traitors and rebels. And now they up to the same old thing. The Dixiecrats never changed when it comes to free labor, slaves, and their rhetoric. So without further ado, let's get into this clip. I want to show you what she's saying now and how it's being portrayed. This for fair use under 1976 Copyright Act for Commentary and Education. Let's check out your Congresswoman.
Democrats once again appearing to endorse threats against Republicans, this time from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay.
Now, let me just interject for a minute. Do you see how he phrased that? They're calling for threats against Republicans. Do you think that them conservatives and the Republicans are going to stand down if things do get violent? What do you think they're going to do if they're attacked? What do you think they're going to do? Ask yourself that. Because we know you liberals and the left are full of women, LGBT community people, beta males, and simps, weaklings. What are you going to do if something actually happens because of her talking? What do you think people like Roland Martin and Al Sharpton and the likes of those guys, what do you think they're going to do? Because guess what? The majority of the strong men in the black community aren't Democrats. They're not over there under that matriarch of a party. So who's on their side? Women, LGBT community. Who is on their side if something actually happens? You think about that. Think about how angry the conservatives and Republicans will be. See, the left wanted to transgender their children. They wanted to take their Bibles out of their schools. They wanted termination of pregnancy to the 8th month. What do you think they're going to do to you? Or maybe they won't do anything to you. But at some point, don't you think they're going to hate you and everything you stand for? And then if things get violent, what are you going to do? If you continue to listen to her and something does happen? What if they create a situation and they make it happen just so they can see the retaliation that'll rip this country apart? Let's listen to some more of her rhetoric.
You okay with punching? But like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him. Fox News contributor and senior writer for the Washington Examiner, Joe Concha, joins us now. Joe, good morning to you. So Axios had a piece yesterday claiming that Democrats are in a deep, dark hole with no party leader and the lowest favorability rating ever. And comments like this from Jasmine Crockett talking about punching, whether verbal or otherwise, certainly doesn't help that cause.
Yeah, Carly, I mean, Jasmine Crockett in the past few days has called for Elon Musk to be, quote, taken down. She wants that as a present for her birthday. Then, as you just played, advocating punching opponents like Ted Cruz has to be knocked over the head, like, hard. Lest we forget there were, 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life last year? One that, if he didn't turn very hard to the right, he would have been assassinated on national television. This sort of rhetoric cannot stand. But I guess this is what gets you on CNN, MSNBC, or wherever she was being interviewed on that particular clip yesterday. She is booked all the time because she says things like this. So I guess expect it to continue. But if you're a responsible network, you would say, all right, we can't put somebody on this that's advocating violence against her opponents. But that's exactly what's happening. That's what gets rewarded. And that's a shame.
Yeah, she went on to say that, no, I'm not inciting violence in any way, shape, or form. What do you make of that? Sort of, I can't even call it a walk-back attempt, that attempt at a walk-back.
It's not. Look, it's a wink, wink, nod, nod. That, yeah, of course I'm not advocating. Just like when Jimmy Kimmel said last week, like, please don't go out and vandalize Teslas, and kind of like smiles and gives a wink to the camera. That's all that is. This is exactly, she knows what she's doing. And when we saw that poll come out last week, which Democrat espouses Democrat values most, they asked Democratic voters, she came in 4th behind AOC and Bernie Sanders. So she's right up there as far as being front and center. And some Democratic voters like this stuff, the extreme ones anyway. And I guess that's her game plan, to continue to appeal to the crazies.
Meanwhile, Joe, Bill Maher, the popular liberal commentator, recently announced that he's going to the White House to meet with President Trump. And he was...
I want to show you one more clip.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is warning Texas Democrat Jasmine Crockett to tread very carefully after Crockett suggested Elon Musk should be taken down. Bondi issued the warning on Sunday Morning Futures, saying, "Nothing will happen to Elon Musk, and we are going to fight to protect all the Tesla owners throughout this country." Bondi also reiterated that the wave of violence against Tesla owners and dealerships, including vehicles being set on fire and vandalized, will come to a stop. Crockett's remarks were made during a national call with the Tesla takedown movement, which encourages owners to sell their vehicles and investors to drop stock in the company. "All I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon Musk to be taken down," Crockett said, referring to a planned global day of action on March 29th. Crockett later clarified that her statements were nonviolent and that her call to action is about fighting for democracy through economic pressure, not physical harm. Republicans, however, have accused her of inciting violence through her rhetoric. Bondi noted that 3 people are currently facing up to 20 years in prison for allegedly damaging Teslas and EV charging stations, calling it a case of domestic terrorism. "We are not coming off these charges," Bondi said. "We are looking at everything, especially if this is a concerted effort."
For more stories just like these, be sure to subscribe to the New York Post.
I'm going to ask you again. What do you think will happen if a conservative is attacked or hurt because of this rhetoric? Do you really think that your sister girl magic and the smiling and the playing will suffice once things get heated? Will you feel safe, as I've asked before, going to the grocery store, going to the church, going to all the soft targets that the lunatics have attacked previously? Because you do know that somewhere in this country, in some basement, in a parent's house, is some young man with a notebook writing a manifesto in response to her joking and her rhetoric. There are people taking her serious. And then all of a sudden, you have to ask, how did she become a millionaire in 2 years with a salary of $170,000? In 2 years, she's worth $9 million. Who's paying her? Because it seems that she's acting like an agent provocateur, allegedly. That she's fanning the flames with her rhetoric. And she smiles and she laughs. But she knows, just like me and you know, that just a little over a year ago, a lone gunman went into a market and unalived 10 black women on a Saturday morning based on his perception of their political views toward the country. They don't talk about that. How do you feel about that? I just want you to think on, ponder that for a minute. She knows that there are people out there like that. Oh, I know you expect Trump's administration to find him before he acts. You expect them to find him and prevent him from acting on this rhetoric. Just like Ayanna Pressley said that Trump's administration was Nazi and fascist. But then she says, oh, I'm going to put a reparations bill out in front of them. They're playing with your mind out there on the left. Be careful. Pay attention. Pay attention. They're making this country more dangerous. And it's just because they're sore losers. They're fear mongering, telling you they're going to take your benefits and creating hysteria. But it's all smoke and mirrors. Well, this is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, signing off. As always, salute to all patriots. Keep your head on a swivel, like, share, and subscribe, and support the channel. Peace.